Good morning everyone. Welcome to Breakfast with Jesus. I'm glad you could join me and my friends this morning. Oh look. Here they come now. My friends Peter and John and Thomas. Good morning Peter.
Yo. Yo. Hey Jesus.
Good morning John. And good morning to you Thomas. You look like you're already having a great day.
How's it going, Jesus? A beautiful day today. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, good morning Jesus.
Come on Thomas, pull up a chair and have some breakfast.
Thanks, Jesus. But I'm just gonna work on my moves for a bit more, if that's okay.
Jesus, can you tell him to stop with his pointing and poking? It's really annoying. Everywhere we go, Thomas is poking and pointing.
Oh Peter. Be patient with him. Someday perhaps his poking will be a really good thing. You never know.
So what do we have for breakfast?
Glad you asked John. We have a kale and berry salad. You know we all should try to eat better. And we also have breakfast burritos.
What's a burrito?
Haha. It's not burrito. It's called a burrito, and it hasn't been invented yet. But I figured we could have some fun, right? It's delicious. You'll like it.
Sure. I'd love to try it.
Listen. I came up with a new parable last night. Do you guys want to hear it?
Sure, boss. We'd love to hear it. What ya got?
Okay. Here it is. Ahem. A man was traveling on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho.
Oh, that's good, boss. That's really good. The road symbolizes the existential reality of every man whose life is a journey. And the man of course embodies the angst of unknowing. Does the road really exist? Or does he just think it exists? And if he just thinks it exists, is that enough? Oh.
Peter. That's not the whole story. That's just the first line. And it really is about a man who actually traveled down the road from Jerusalem to Jericho.
Oh Jesus. Is this another one of your weird stories? You know one of these days the weird story police are gonna come after you. Can't you just tell a normal story?
This is a good story Peter. I promise you. So. A man was traveling down the road from Jerusalem to Jericho, when he fell into the hands of robbers. They took everything he had, beat him, and left him half dead. Now a priest happened to be traveling down that same road, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed over to the other side and passed him by.
I knew it. It's a weird story.
In the same way, a Levite who came to the place saw him, and he too passed on the other side. But then a Samaritan traveler came upon the man, and when he saw him, he was moved with compassion. He went over to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them. He then lifted him up onto his own mount, and carried him to the inn, and looked after him. The next day, he took out 2 denarii and handed them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and on my way back I will make good any extra expense you have. So, what do you think?
What do I think? What do I think? I think you should never tell that story ever again.
He's got a point, Jesus. Your story makes the priest and Levite look bad. The priest had made a vow to God and so he couldn't stop and help without breaking his vow, and the Levite, he couldn't help him without becoming ritually unclean, and then he would not be able to serve God's people.
Yeah, what he said. But more important, you know they have the best football stadium down in Jericho. If you tell that story our wives will never let us go to another game. Never again. Can you imagine what that would be like? Not another game, ever. Oh brother, I can hear it now. They're gonna say,
You heard. Jesus said that road to Jericho is dangerous. You could be killed. And how would you know that the Samaritan will be coming along? He might have passed just before the robbers come along, and then where will you be?
and you know I'm right. That's what's going to happen.
Huh? What do you think Thomas?
Honestly, Jesus, no one will believe it. It's too much. A Samaritan helping to save the life of a Jew? I doubt it. The world just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's a good point, Thomas. I'm telling you, Jesus, this is a weird story. Everybody is doing something weird and no one is doing what they would do.
Well, actually the priest and Levite are doing what they probably would do. But I have to agree with Thomas, there's no way a Samaritan would have acted like a neighbor to the Jew.
Well then, Change the world.
Oh.
So the Samaritan did the unexpected, he was compassionate to an enemy. That's very much like God, who loves all of his creation.
And the priest and the Levite were following their religious duties but failing to do what God actually commands us to do.
I bet the Samaritan was going to a game there in Jericho.
And the man who had been robbed and beaten, his attitude toward all Samaritans would be totally changed after this. Actually, his attitude towards all people would be different.
Yeah, any guy who likes a good game can't be all bad.
So if we could change our attitudes, to be like the man who was saved by his enemy, that would really change the world.
I never thought I would say this, but I could be friends with a Samaritan like that.
Your story, Jesus, has an interesting twist to it.
You know, I bet I could even like some Romans. They like sports too.
So you like the story, Peter?
Now wait a minute. I didn't say that. I still think it's a weird story. I don't think it'll ever catch on.
I have high hopes for that story. So we'll see. But I can see that the pointing is catching on.
Oh no.
Well, it looks like we're going to dance for a bit and then get down to eating. Thanks for joining us. And remember, breakfast with Jesus, it's the most important meal of the day.